Legend says humans and apes lived side by side in the time of Caesar. Too many have forgotten who he was.
And action.
Tell me, what do you see? Kingdom for apes.
One of the big ideas is taken from the cave wall in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Ape not kill ape, apes together strong. And the last one was knowledge is power. We are treating knowledge as a virus. You can catch it, you can spread it. It can be both good and bad. That's kind of the crux of what led us on this long path towards building the next Planet of the Apes.
It is a completely new generation.
The fear of the unknown hits something deep-rooted in our society that I think is obviously present.
It's now the Apes planet. So we either get on board with that or we're done for.
This is our time. This is my kingdom.
What a wonderful day!
I was born in '80. I grew up on the '68 version of the Planet of the Apes, the original. I watched it when I was a kid, a ton, probably for all the reasons that a lot of people fell in love with that movie. But at the time, it was the most cutting-edge makeup effects that's ever been done, right? And now it's the most cutting-edge visual effects ever done. I've made 4 movies now with Weta. They are the best in the world at what they do. They just are.
Had it not been for Weta, I mean, just on the technical visual effects side, in terms of the texturing, the fur, the eyes, the specularity in the eyes, the kind of just the digital mastery of making those apes look like real apes that can talk. I mean, I don't think any other company in the world really goes anywhere near them.
Can we not slow down?
No. You know, I feel incredibly lucky. I feel like someone's giving me the keys to the expensive car. So I have to be careful. I can't wreck it. All right, cut. But hopefully I get to give it the gas and take it for a spin.
Wes has so much energy. He'll come and explain what's happening for the scene, and he'll do every sound effect and movement.
He does the bombs and the wind. He says, and you come in, you go, oh, and then,
You sit down.
What I love about Wes is that he has such glee at making movies.
That's why I think it's fantastic. I'm actually here, now part of that long legacy of these movies. We wanted to try to bring a little bit more fantasy into the movie. I wanted to see lots of different types of worlds. So we go into giant skyscrapers, cliff faces, woods, ocean, sand, and rust, giant underground caves that were the remains of old airports. Big, visual, exciting stuff. And I was asked about what would you do with the next Planet of the Apes movie. There was an image that popped in my head of this ape on this ledge, and behind him is these eroding ruins that almost look like mountains. And I had this image of him with his arm out and an eagle flying onto it. And I just thought that was such a cool idea. That they're going through the same kind of period that we went through as a species. How we domesticated dogs, they became man's best friend. Eagles have become their tools for companionship and hunting.
Eagles are the spiritual core of the film. A big part of our work was figuring out exactly what the eagles meant and what our practices surrounding them were.
We did have some time with an eagle, Sabrina, and having that majestic creature come and sit on your arm like that, I can think of far worse things to do on an idle Tuesday. It was magnificent.
Their whole world is kind of built around almost this nest idea of birds up in the air where the wind is. And ultimately find out that our apes live in what's left of the old power towers.
Something you can't pass up as a production designer is to build a whole new environment that no one's seen before. The Eagle's Nest was a really tough set to design and orchestrate. We basically built a nest inside of a cable tower. We had to build a precise model with the sticks in the right area, what was going to be structural, how much weight could it take. We had a certain amount of characters in there, we had a fight sequence. We built the thing on an actual metal structure on the set, on stage, about 3 meters off the floor. It wants to feel random and yet be stable and safe. The ape stick architecture that we're sort of showing throughout the film, I tried to make it less threatening on this go-around. All the carpenters that worked on it, we had to tell them, put the tape measures away, eyeball it. Nothing wants to be a straight line, no perfect corners, just to try to make it really loose. And our team did a great job of that.
When we were thinking about where to tell the story of this small clan of apes, we were thinking about someplace that was gorgeous, someplace that was out of time, someplace that was in contrast to the conflict that was going to come in the later part of the movie.
Australia's fantastic. I mean, it's on par with anywhere in the world. As part of the Eagle Clan's sort of location, we found this great farm up against this escarpment. It just felt magical.
When we found this place and these trees and this wildlife, we looked around and said, this is it. This is perfect. This is where we have to shoot.
And we went out there and it was incredible. In fact, there were eagles flying overhead as we were scouting this place, so it just felt like, wow, the stars are just aligning.
This is a location that no one has ever seen ever before in any movie. And we're here to make Kingdom of the Planet, the Apes, here.
Eagle Clan Village. Today, on day 8 here, we're shooting a lot more pickup pieces of the first act, where we introduce all of our characters.
We see home for the first time. Very good.
For them, it's just a tree. It's just another artifact of the landscape. But they've moved into this crazy thing and built this incredible nest-like structure inside this old metal beast to set up the idea that the history of the world as we know it is slowly eroding away, just like the landscape itself.
When I came into this project, I thought we'd all be in studio, and much to my joy, we're actually on location a lot, and there's much less blue screen than you'd think.
As a primate, it was great to be out in the forest where their natural habitat is.
I remember being in eagle nests in that set and looking out the window and not seeing a blue screen and just seeing like, yeah, that's the sky. And I'm up at the top of a cell phone tower.
We have to burn the place down, so we actually did burn some huts, did some controlled fires as well.
Flare!
Our Eagle Clan village. It's in a state of disrepair as a result of an attack by our antagonist in the movie. And on top you see a very complicated steel structure where we have built this lighting rig to recreate not only what this location would look like when it's on fire, which is fantastic, but allow us to control a lot of the lighting for other parts of what we've been shooting up here.
I knew that my village was gonna be destroyed, and I knew that it was gonna be intense, and so I was like, I don't want to look at the set until we roll. Wes was like, you okay? And I was like, yeah, I don't want to look at this yet. And he was like, oh yeah, right, okay, here. And he kind of led me to where I started. And then we rolled, and on action I looked up and saw the set for the first time. I basically didn't even have to act at all because it was such a powerful thing to see this. They've really built a world that's so fleshed out, and it makes it easy as an actor to come in and just be part of it.
To be able to move around as a chimp all day is putting your body in quite a different physical position that your body's not used to, so it's very demanding on your back, on your joints. You have to be very careful with really how much we do.
I was lucky enough to have a month of ape training. We studied the anatomical differences between the human skeleton and the ape skeleton.
Pound per pound, they're just so much stronger than humans.
All of them have a different type of anatomy which informs the way that we move. It was more of a physical jump, just figuring out how to move.
I'm just gonna stay an ape, I think. I don't know if I want to go back.
Super fulfilling, super fun.
That felt good.
I cannot speak highly enough about our ape training process, and as we call it, ape school. Ape school broke the bubble, and we created such a strong trust with all of us. We'd spent hours improvising.
When you do movement work with physical actors, bonding is extremely important. The main thing about the bonding is that they learn to teach each other as they work.
It really feels like we're all in this together, so we look out and watch each other and we kind of give feedback on each other's performances.
The bonding that we did in that 6 weeks, I think is just as important as any rehearsals we did, any stunt training, any horse riding, because Eagle Clan, they're family, and you'll see the family on screen.
Will never be apes, really. It would be really difficult to do. So they are dressed in suits whose points will be captured by a system, and they're being tagged and then reproduced in 3D as a human. And on this human, they superimpose the format or the avatar of an ape.
I literally do nothing different than I would otherwise, except I stand like a chimp and move like a chimp, and sometimes my face does some chimpy things, which kind of happens in real life anyway, so I've been told.
They'd have to wear these suits, and they've got freckles all over their face, which the computer can read. But the novelty of it, the bizarreness of it passed really quickly.
You've got to try and see the ape that they're doing and not focus on the giant stick coming out of their head.
I was approached by Wes to come on board and be a consultant, to be there to pass on the baton, both in a technical way, but also work with the actors in terms of finding their characters and explain how performance capture technology shouldn't be a barrier at all, but actually it should be an invisible technology to help them create their characters.
Primarily, we're out in the world, out in the wilds of Australia, but we still have to get really nuanced performance capture in those spaces. And so to do that, some of the advancements that we've sort of brought into this process is the head-mounted stereo pair of cameras recording the actor's face, which gives us a lot better sense of what they were doing at any moment of their performance.
Yesterday, I spent 3 hours doing like 105 facial expressions and saying all these lines so that they have like an ingredient list of the way my muscles use and how they can put those on the performance.
It's a unique process, challenging at times, but also gives us a ton of power. I can extend, I can contract, I can do all kinds of amazing trickery using the fact that we're essentially a half-digital movie.
I was a fan of the previous films, and the world we're trying to create just feels bigger than they were able to at that time. We got a couple of homages in there from those films.
An iconic sequence in that first movie about a human hunt where the apes round up these feral humans. And we are shooting a version of that here. We're using this river as where we meet our feral humans who are meeting at a watering hole with other animals. They're at peace. They're completely in tune with nature.
I would have to say where we landed with the ferals is really kind of where they were right back in the original films, except dirtier, I suppose.
You really do think that at first it's just a movie about apes. We assume that all humans are gone, but the virus has kind of a second act which makes them feral.
All in all, I pretty much transformed 53 human beings into apes and then 34 into feral humans.
It's more animal sounds than it is like a voice. No, there's no vocal cords almost, right? Yeah, let's try that.
This is about 300-400 years after the pandemic that has caused humans to lose their cognitive abilities and their verbal abilities. I decided to deconstruct everything that was civilized about a human. I had my fingers crossed and my toes crossed on the first day that we shot these because I didn't know what was gonna come out.
Get them coming out first and then have them come over.
There's a moment when I'm in the midst of like all these running feral human beings, and like orangutans are not fast. But these humans, and he's just in the middle of all this thing and just kind of lost.
Overall, it's a kind of a tough sequence having to try to imagine something's bumping you or chasing you and zebras are coming through, and basically all we filmed was the humans running and some real horses coming through.
We had horses dragging people, horses dragging nets. The most difficult scene was on a bridge, a man-made set piece. We had water rapids going under the bridge. It was quite a narrow bridge and we had horses crossing it.
They literally built a river in a parking lot. Peter and Freya are on wires in the water getting drowned, and that was just impressive.
That was a fantastic little set that really had a lot of departments having to work together to make all that happen. Stunts were a huge part of that. As soon as they come up with the action, we have to work backwards with them on how to make it safe. All these sort of things have to go into play on all our sets.
We decided the best way to approach it was to make a scale model of it. So in conjunction with the art department, we scaled the bridge, we scaled the pool, and the requirement was to make whitewater rapids under the bridge. We got ourselves a massive pump, set ourselves up a recirculating system. The pump pushes about 8,000 litres an hour. Basically, it's a giant spa bath.
In the water he goes. Hold on!
To get Freya ready for the net trap water sequence, we did some rehearsals with her hanging upside down and then dunking her in the water.
Pause for a second, pause.
She needed to be underwater in the rapids with the foot caught in a net for an extended period of time and be comfortable with it, which she did remarkably well.
The way the river was coming, when I was like this, the water went straight up my nose. But it was worth it in the end. In general, I like to be able to do everything. I just think it helps you have a sense of what she's kind of going through, doing it yourself. And also, I just find it fun. I love being in the water. I like the adrenaline of doing anything like that, and being able to like get a shot done, see it at the end is kind of satisfying. Proximus Caesar, so he's taking on the name of Caesar, even though his values are entirely different to his.
There's a big gap between where the last one left off and where we're picking it up. Caesar's not here. He's here in spirit, but Caesar's legacy is continuing and being used for different purposes.
Caesar was first elder. Now, I am Caesar! Say his words!
Proximus Caesar is a self-proclaimed king. His castle is basically this old abandoned ship.
We find ourselves today in the Proximus Caesar encampment. This is where the part of the finale of the film happens. Behind me will be a big giant ship. We've only built a portion of it, which is us exiting. Just to my left over here, we have what will be the thermite tent, is where they're making explosives to try to get themselves in this giant vault door. So big vault. We have the silo inside. This is where the humans live. These were built specifically, in theory, all over the world to house the humans from the disease. As time went on, this one didn't turn out so well. We went to painstaking layers to create the rusty look, which is starting with MDF wood, making it look chipped edge so the rust has that effect. And then we get to the paint level, which is, guys literally by hand doing every edge, creating this sort of realistic rusty interior. So what we're trying to show here is the backstory of what this place was, which is sort of the wharf and the infrastructure that was put in to build this silo. So when you look at this wall over to my right, the actual doors and sort of surround to the doors was all part of that silo build, and the infrastructure to do that is shown out here and will be shown in the CG environment. So we have a lot of extension going on here. We've just built the elements that we need to interact with. So it's big super tankers, beach tier, container ship that we're only showing barely 10% of. We produce basically a 3D set in the Unreal Engine that they can manipulate a camera within, and we also use that on the day when we shoot it. So when the camera operators are framing up, they understood that, oh, that's the front of the ship, that's the back, that's the top, etc. May will now come in and open the doors as they were meant to open by mechanical means.
It's been a massive couple of months, and it's kind of nice to wind down and, and finish it off with a bang.
Next thing you know, the wall explodes, and the water comes rushing in this doorway. flooding this whole interior. People are scrambling, apes are fighting for their lives, trying to get up, trying to get to a safe position, and then we continue on from there to our finale.
They've built some fantastic sets on this movie. They're absolutely massive. These kind of movies, it's about a world. We're taking people to a world that doesn't exist. So a lot of it's got to be created, you know, stand in a real place and give the actor something real to react to and be in.
That's the difference in these movies. It was the difference in the first three, and I think we're continuing that same trend, is it takes place in the real world. We have real sets, we have real props, we have outdoor locations, we go to places that are beautiful and interactive. It also adds a reality to the world that the special effects can then live in. We've really worked hard to figure out what should be practical, what should be digital, and how we marry the two together to give us the most authentic, grounded look.
This franchise, it's gone through generations. I mean, my grandparents watched the originals. At the essence of it, there's a lot of human struggles, and sometimes it's much easier to see that through the lens of watching something else.
You maniacs! You blew it up!
It's a touchstone of science fiction. It deals with issues of justice and how we think about ourselves in relation to other people and other creatures.
Take your stinking paw off me, you damn dirty ape!
No!
It's a great privilege because you feel this has such a rich history. I remember thinking to myself, I would love to be on one of this one day.
You know, we certainly don't make these movies just for ourselves, and it's certainly not lost on us the appreciation, I think, that audiences have for this franchise.
With this movie, we're taking all of that history and we are building on this amazing tradition and taking it to the next level.
It reflects the human condition in such a profound way. The center of it would be the fact that one shouldn't judge according to species, because this Earth, this planet that we all inhabit, is only going to survive with a sense of respect.
It's this great epic kind of journey, but what the last three films accomplished and laid out allows us to leap higher and further.
I must destroy their kind.
It so honors the previous trilogy, but it absolutely is not like a direct sequel. It's a new chapter in this long-spanning legacy of movies. And because they are apes, they allow us to look at deep issues about ourselves.
You cannot trust a human.
Can ape and human live together?